Cool. Over the last couple of years, God has taken me on a journey of going deeper and deeper and just walking me through step by step things that are not of Him in my life. So battling anxiety and depression, insecurities and comparison, a need to be noticed or affirmed, and an addiction to pornography. Let's be real, it's not just men that struggle with it. So a couple of years ago, I didn't quite realise how broken I was. So coming from a performing arts background, it's pretty easy for me to pretend to be okay, to put the mask on and pretend everything's fine. But underneath everything, I felt hollow, I felt unloved, and if I'm honest, I felt dirty. I would try to find my worth and identity in the company of others, whether that was friendship groups or relationships. I would go into a relationship with all of my baggage hidden. I could pretend to be the perfect girlfriend because, after all, who wants to be with someone who's slowly falling apart behind the scenes? As soon as someone saw that I was starting to crack, I would freak out and run away. I would leave before they had a chance to see behind the mask. I know so many people, including myself, who have been searching for the one, whilst not necessarily being emotionally ready to be the one. The thing about relationships is they don't fix you, they can't fix you. Only God can heal what's really inside. A relationship will just magnify everything about you. About a year and a half ago, I started Freedom Church Academy here in Hereford, and the summer beforehand, as was my nature, I freaked out because I was scared of the emotions that I would have to unsuppress and actually work through. I would have to look at my past, look at all the pain from that, and deal with a lot of things. I left church for a couple of months, and during that time I got into a relationship with someone who I genuinely thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and he was great, but God never stopped pursuing me. He never stopped hounding me. There would be times where I would hear worship songs in my head and start singing them and be like, no, and just have that constant battle of, I knew he was fighting for me, but I had turned my head the other way and almost refused to believe that I was worthy of the plans that he had for me, worthy of his love. Got to February time where I couldn't ignore this conviction anymore, where I knew that if I allowed the fear of being alone, never being loved, or the fear of not being enough control me or contain me anymore, I would just crumble. A new fear rose up in me, and it was this fear of settling. Honestly, this fear of settling for anything less than God had for me. It freaked me out because I'd never had that before. God gave me a choice between temporary fixes or coming and finding myself in Him. And honestly, I just wanted to not feel so fragile. So I took that step, and I remember being in my bedroom the evening after I'd broken up with him, crying so much that I felt physically sick. I was knelt on the floor and I was crying out to God. But in that, I had never worshipped so hard. I'd never been so grateful that He could take me from one day saying, no, please don't go there, no, don't challenge this, anything but this, to being so grateful that He would give me a way out. And I chose Him in that moment. And I'd never been so in awe of Him that He could take me from one day feeling like that to another day running home. It felt like I'd run home into my dad's arms. And it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it hasn't been easy. But that moment, He just needed me to take a step towards Him. He did the rest. God did the rest. I took one step, and in that moment, on my bedroom floor, crying out to Him, I felt like this mask that I'd had for so long just fell off. It just felt like freedom. I felt free. I would be lying if I said it was easy. But I've been taking steps. I've been finding out more of who I am and of how he sees me. If I could speak to the Rebekah from 2 years ago, I'd tell her that you will only ever regret the steps that you don't take. That there's value in marriage and relationships, but it's not to be idolized. It's more beneficial to you to figure out who you are in Christ first before even entertaining that thought. I now know that there's a difference between being saved and actually laying down your life and giving your life to Jesus. I'm so grateful for every test because it's brought me closer to God. It showed me who I am. I can now safely say that I am saved, that I am loved, that I am free. I no longer have a porn addiction. I no longer struggle with anxiety or depression. I choose joy daily. I can claim my identity in Jesus. And that's a journey that I will be on for the rest of my life. It's a journey that all of us will be on for the rest of our life because there is more that God has for us. He doesn't call us to settle where we are. And throughout this journey, all I found is that I am just desperate for more of him. Desperate to know him, to know who he is, and to know who I am in him.